So talking to Brad Raw about buying property in an SMSF, a question we get from time to time occasionally is maybe I've only got so much money, maybe I've only got so much borrowing capacity. I'm conscious that there is sometimes higher interest rates if I was to borrow within a super fund that within certain rules versus just having an outright loan in maybe a family trust or personal names even or another structure. What's the main advantage you would say to a client if they've got the ability to do some limited recourse borrowing and buy some property in a fund? Why would you do that over just buying it in a family trust and just holding it the next 10, 20 plus years doing it that way?
One of the main advantages we see is the tax rate inside super. If you were capital gains, they still get a third discount. Yes, they don't get the 50% discount that you might get in a family trust in your individual names, but tax rate is looking at 10%. And of course, if you sell that property when you're in retirement, that tax rate is 0%. And of course, the income then that property is generating as well in a family trust, you're paying marginal tax rate. In the super fund, it is 15%. And of course, if you're in pension phase, it is 0%. So those tax rates are very attractive being so compared to your marginal tax rates outside of super. And depending on the overall strategy or plan with that property, if it's to hold in the long term, saving that significant tax on the income on the way through, and then when you sell that property, super does become a very attractive vehicle in the longer term for rather than just property that you're trying to turn over in 2 or 3 years. Yeah. You're trying to hold it in the long term. It's definitely an attractive structure.
Is there some asset protection benefits maybe being in super, if I'm in business versus in my own name?
It does. So if as long as the investments was set up in the super fund before, say, from a bankruptcy or trustee perspective, if there was any bankruptcy issues, the super is protected from bankruptcy. So if the property or the asset was in the super fund, the bankruptcy can't touch that as long as you haven't been, trading insolvent or just throwing extra money in. They can claw back a certain period of time if you've just been shoving it all in super. But if it's a property that's set up, say, 10 years ago for, asset protection in super, it is protected from that side of things as well. It still forms part of a family asset pool from a divorce perspective, but from a bankruptcy perspective, it is definitely a good vehicle.
So I suppose in summary, have a chat to us first before you are looking at buying something in a trust or other entity, versus the opportunity to buy it in super. There are some obviously pros and cons, but have a chat to us first before you go ahead and do that. So.